You all know me by now, right? I'm just the bored lady who drinks coffee and watches too much news, and then I get on TikTok and I mouth off about all these trials that I think are really fucking unfair. Which brings me back to part 5 of the Young Thug trial. Now, I'm not a lawyer. Not a lawyer. I just watch a lot of TikTok, I watch a lot of news, I do a lot of Googling, and then I have opinions. And just like you may have discovered with my conversations about the Karen Read trial, I'm way the fuck behind. And so it's really hard for me to be finding out what's happening. And I'm like, did you guys hear? And you're thinking, yeah, lady, we heard that 3 months ago. The Young Thug trial has been going on a while, and I get that I'm a Johnny-come-lately. But I am really trying to get up to speed. And today's important news was there was another motion filed against Judge Glanville. So yesterday, the attorneys for one of the co-defendants, a guy named DeMonte Kendrick, filed an emergency petition with the Georgia Supreme Court for a writ of mandamus and stay of proceedings. I hope I got all that right. Anyway, what this means in kind of my layman's terms is this is essentially the nuclear option, right? They have tried everything to get this judge to play fair. There have been motions for him to dismiss the case. There's been motions for him to recuse. And because the way the court system works, when they file this motion, he's the one that gets to view the motion. So he looks at it and goes, nope, don't think so. Nah, not interested. And he's just batting them away. And you've got a whole bunch of attorneys who really have no other place to go. So this absolutely is sending this emergency motion to the Supreme Court. This was the absolute kind of last result nuclear option. And it's not unreasonable what they're asking. So they've asked the Georgia Supreme Court to do a couple of things. So one of them is simply, please get us a judge that can come in and hear these motions. So instead of Judge Glanville being able to sit in judgment of himself, there should be a third party, non-biased judge who comes in and says, well, they're asking you to recuse. Tell me why you shouldn't be recused. And there should be a third party who inserts themselves and determines should the judge recuse himself or not. He should not get to decide that for himself. They've also asked that while that is taking place, so there's all these different hearings. Remember, there's a hearing for this motion and there's a hearing for that motion. And I think it's the 25th where he's called in all those people. Go back and watch previous videos, but he's called in all those people to do that show cause trial thing where he wants them to come in and confess to who told about his ex parte conversation, blah, blah, blah. So there's all these little side things that are happening. And what they've asked the Georgia Supreme Court to do is to stay the proceedings. Stop this damn trial long enough to get all of that sideshow bullshit taken care of, because it shouldn't be happening in tandem. Defense attorneys shouldn't be having to do side fights with this judge while they've got this massive trial going on. It's ridiculous. This should be separated, stay the proceedings, and go take care of this bullshit first. And this one's the one I think is the most interesting. They've asked that the court provide an unredacted copy of the transcript of that ex parte conversation. Now, if you don't recall, that's what kicked all this bullshit off, is the judge, the prosecutor, one of the witnesses, and his attorney all went in and had an ex parte conversation without the defense. That's why the judge is on this rat hunt to find out who told the defense that meeting took place without them. That's what kicked off a lot of these motions. That's what started saying, people started saying this is going to be a mistrial because you can't do that. And apparently there was a transcript, because there's always a transcript of those things. When the transcript was provided, it was heavily redacted. Just meaning they just crossed out all the shit that made them look bad. That's not suspicious at all. So they've asked the Georgia Supreme Court to say, we want a copy that's not redacted. We want to see in all of its glory what the fuck happened in that room. Meanwhile, we're still waiting for Judge Glanville's decision on the motion that was filed the day before yesterday by Kayla Bumpus. She was the former attorney for Kenneth Copeland, one of the witnesses, and she was part of that ex parte conversation. She has now been called in for that show cause hearing or whatever it is. She has filed a motion to quash that court order, but of course she had to file the motion with Judge Glanville. So of course he's going to deny her motion. Like he's doing all this bad shit. And when they go, you're doing bad shit, he goes, so who cares? Who cares? Fuck off. And there's no recourse. So the Georgia Supreme Court's going to need to step in. This is all just my opinion. This is all alleged. And I am not sitting in the courtroom. I'm not a reporter. I'm not a lawyer. And I'm not sitting in the jury box. But from my vantage point, this judge is biased toward the prosecution and really wants these defendants to be prosecuted and to go away for a long time. So why are you fucking about? I would think the very last thing you would want would be a mistrial. And by not hearing the motions, not calling in an unbiased third party, doing this, snitch hunt that he's on, doing all of these things, that's where it's going to lead us to a mistrial. And I don't know if Young Thug and these 5 other members of YSL are guilty of anything. I don't know that. They might be. So if they're guilty, we're going to let them all go free because Judge Glanville's ego won't allow him to see this clearly. It could be due to him that this causes a mistrial. Now think about this. It took them 10 months to seat this jury. That's the longest jury selection process in Georgia state history. Do you really want to go through that again? The number of prosecution witnesses that they're planning to call, this trial could last up to 2 years. And do you want to continue to spend taxpayer dollars to do this all over again? When it's as simple as Judge Glanville stepping aside and allowing these guys to get a fair trial. I cannot for the life of me comprehend why he won't do that. More to come.